Okay, hi guys. Today we are going to talk about ways to subtract. Now, I know you have a favorite way to subtract, but you are expected to know more than one way to subtract and be able to recognize a picture or a number line or another strategy, and you're supposed to understand this child was subtracting. And that's why we need to be able to at least recognize other ways to subtract than just the standard algorithm. The way your parents used to do it. The way that is a good strategy, and I think everyone should be heading toward that goal, but not everyone is there yet. So we're going to go over, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 different ways to subtract. The first one, well, first let's just pick our problem. Our first problem is going to be, the problem we're going to actually be working with the whole time is 726 minus 439. It's a good number because the top number is larger than the bottom, but you do have to borrow with this. So we're going to work on that one. So the first one we're going to work with is expanded form. Expanded form is when we take the larger number and the smaller number, we put them in expanded form and we deal with them as in their place values. And then in the end we add them up. So let's get started on that one. So you should have written expanded form, you have your number, and this is going to be your example for expanded form. It is a top and bottom strategy. So I take the largest number up top and we expand it. 700 plus 20 plus 6. And that's subtracted from 400 plus 30 plus 9. And some of you may say, why do we have the plus signs here? Well, like I said, it's expanded form. This number is 726. 7 plus 20 plus 6 does equal 726. And 439, 400 plus 30 plus 9 does equal 439. So now we do subtract. And if you notice here, we are going to still need to borrow. 6 minus 9, I cannot do. I do need to borrow. But now you can actually see what you're borrowing. You're not borrowing a 2, you're borrowing a 20. So I take 1 10 away. I have 1 10 left over. I bring that 10 over here. 10 plus 6 is 16. And then 16 minus 9 will be 7. And then we move to the next category. 10 minus 30 cannot be done either. So I do need to go next door. I'm going to borrow 100 from the 700, which means I have 600 left. I'm going to take that 100 that I borrowed, and I'm going to add it to the 10. 100 plus 10 is 110. So 110 minus 30. Well, I know 30 plus 70 makes 100, and so I have 10 more. So 110 minus 30 is 80. Bring my plus signs down. And 600 minus 400 is 200. I'm not finished. I do need to add this back together and put it back in standard form. So 200 plus 80 plus 7 is 287. And this is how you solve an expanded form. So if you see this, you can recognize that it is a subtraction problem, and they've just expanded the number, the standard form, to get their answer. The next one is going to be a number line counting up. So we're going to put number line counting up. And we'll use the same numbers. So when you do that, you start with 439. You start with your smaller number, and then you count up, and you're getting the difference between your smaller number and your larger number. if I have to use a number line, I like this one than going backwards. It just feels easier to me. So I see 439. I can create an easier, rounder number by jumping just one for 4 to make 440. Or I could start skip counting by 100s until I get 600 something. Once I go over 726, I have to stop skip counting by hundreds. But let's go ahead and do that. So I think I'm going to just start with skip counting by hundreds. So here's 100. I'm going to write down how much I went, and that will give me 539. If I go again, that's another 100, and that's going to be 639. Can I go another 100 to 739? I really can't because 726. So I'm done skip counting by hundreds. But like I said, I do need to add that little 1 to make a 40. So I'm going to go ahead and skip count by 1 and make 640. Why? Because it's an easier number to deal with. Now, you get to choose how you jump as long as you stop at 726. But I want to get to 700. And I know 40 plus 60 is another 100. So I'm going to skip count 60 forward, because that will give me 700. And now, how much more do I have to go from 700 to 726? That's 26. And I'm done. Now I'm done skip counting, but I'm not done getting my answer. What I actually have to do is combine all these numbers up here. And a lot of times you can do that in your head. I can do the 100s easily. 100, 200, and then the 62. So I've got 100, 260. Now all I have to do is add the 26 and 1. Well, 26 plus 1 is 27. And now I just add the rest. 7, 6, 7, 8, 287. So my answer from 726 minus 439, the difference between those two numbers is 287. That was the number line counting up. Let's go to the number line counting backwards. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of it, but it is a strategy, and some people like it a lot. So number line back. I was counting back. Which means you start, instead of starting at 439 and counting upwards, you start at 726. And you go back until you hit 439, because that's the number that you are supposed to stop at when you're taking away. So you're genuinely taking numbers away. So let's get started on this one, and it should be very similar. Instead of counting up 100, you can start counting back 100. But remember, it's 439 that is your gold number. So you have to stop. So I'm going to go back 626, 526. I can't go 426 because my number is 439. So I'm done there. So that made me 626, 526. So now maybe I can just get rid of this 26 and hit around even 5. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going backwards 26, and now I have 500. My goal is 439. So now I'm going to go and give myself 440, which means I'm going to subtract 60. And I know 60 away from 500 is 440. And then I need 439. So then I'm going to go backwards 1 for 439. And if you see, my numbers are pretty much the same. 100, 260, 260. I use this one, this one, this one. Now 26 plus 1 is 27. 7, 8, 2. I got the same thing. And you should be getting the same thing because you're subtracting the same number. The last one, if you have room up here, and I'm just going to go ahead and do it right here because it's our last one, and that's the one that we always do is our standard algorithm, okay? I'm going to put standard. Algorithm is just a way you solve. I'm going to write the number 726 minus 439. We can do this for practice. And this one should look very much like this one. So 6 minus 9, I cannot do. I need to borrow a 10. I have 1 left over, and that makes 16. Let's see, 9, 7. 1 minus 3 I cannot do, so I need to borrow here. That makes 600. And then I add 10 over here. So 11 minus 3 is 8. And then 6 minus 4 is 2. Of course, I think this is the most efficient way, but we need to recognize other ways that some people can subtract, and when you get test questions asking about identifying what a student did, then you should be able to know. These are the ways I expect you to be able to subtract, and then you can always pick your favorite one when we just solve story problems. Have a good night.